Hello, everyone. I'm Lou Marciani, the director of the Innovation Institute for Fan Experience and host of the new FANCENTRIC Podcast Series. The FANCENTRIC Series is all about fans and how the venues and IIFX can better serve them. What do fans want and need when they attend sports and entertainment events or concerts or festivals is what we're going to discuss here today. Our fan-centric series takes the journey with the fans as they leave home, arrive at the venue, enjoy the event, and return home. We will also discuss technology trends, industry gaps, real-world fan experiences, and technologies that can address challenges facing the sports and entertainment industry and their fans. Our goal is to help the sports and entertainment industry focus on the fans. Our guest for the Fan-Centric Podcast Series today is Eileen Williams, Senior Safety Officer at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London. Welcome, Eileen.
Good evening or good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
And let me tell the audience a little bit about you, and then I'm going to ask you what your routine is during the day. But listen, Eileen's been in the business for over 20 years. She's been working in the event industry and specializing in safety, security, and service delivery at major sporting events and music festivals. Her experience ranges across global events, FIFA World Cup, the Rugby and Cricket World Cup events, as well as the Olympics and the Commonwealth Games. So she really brings to the podcast series a really tremendous background that we can look at, particularly at the topic today. And the topic today is going to be, has safety and security changed since the pandemic? So let's get started. To start off with, Eileen, what's your daily routine look like on the job? What's your daily routine?
Well, it depends on whether we have an event on that particular week. So if we have an event, let's just say, for example, we have football on a Saturday. In the week leading up to that, I'm working with all of my internal stakeholders to fully understand the multiple events and activations that are going on within the major event. So for those of you who are not familiar with the stadium, Tottenham Hotspur hosts just over 62,000 supporters each Premier League. It is a multi-purpose venue, purposely built, only opened in August 2019, and hosts a 10-year contract with the NFL, the American football. So we've just had 2 of the London series hosted there, again with 62,000. In September, we hosted an alternative use of the venue again for a boxing event, which had 67,000 people there. So in preparation for that, there are multiple activations going on in the week. So our partnerships team may have something going on with one of our sponsors. So it might be some music or some additional entertainment. So I meet with all of the partners, and probably in total, there are about 20 to 25 internal stakeholders who will tell me what their activations are for an event. And then we look at the safety impact or the security impact of each of those. They only see them as an independent activation, but I have to join up the dots, as it were, to make sure that by the time we get to the event, everything is connected up.
Yeah.
In terms of external stakeholders, we're also meeting with them. So the transport team and our ticketing team, to make sure that we're looking at travel demand and our ability to get people to the stadium safely and depart safely. And for particular events that we're not aware of, we haven't got much historical data. For example, the boxing, a lot of data had to go into look at postcode, travel demand, how people were going to arrive at the stadium, and more importantly, how we get them away on a Saturday evening.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're talking about really post-pandemic here in a way. Let's see if you agree with the statement. The pandemic has brought events industry much closer in terms of collaboration, sharing best practices, and sharing resources, and has opened new dialogue for the industry leaders and practitioners on a level that hasn't been seen before. You agree with that?
Yes, I do. Everybody, once the pandemic hit us in March 20, was kind of going, crumbs, when do we open? I mean, if you work for a company or a business, the impact, the financial impact to all of these businesses. So one, the stadium as a business, football as a business. Then we had to look at all of those internal and external stakeholders as businesses in their own rights. So I think what we've seen as we've managed to guide ourselves through since March 20, I'm very obviously working with the UK government and their approach and their idiosyncrasies around what happens in the UK. Then we have our event owner, which is the Premier League. So they are guiding us from the government requirements into how we might deliver their events. And of course, across football particularly, there's kind of been a leader in the UK in terms of getting back to business. It's been slow. It's been, let's get somewhere. Oh, no, new statistics have come in again, so we mustn't veer off what we're doing. We go back in behind closed doors. We were fortunate in 2020 and 2021 to host 3 events which had a limited capacity. And again, it allowed us to speak to all of our agencies, who's our contractors who supply staff to us, catering, safety, security personnel, and really find out what they were doing in the background and how we could support one another. And really then when we've come back in the new season, which started in August 21, in advance of that, I brought all of my agencies in and said, we're here for a good chat. We're one team. We need to talk. We need to make sure that we're supporting one another. And they also relayed, some of those businesses were repurposed in as much as they had taken on some additional security work and not events work, which were still ongoing contracts. And therefore, they were being stretched. Yeah. And so therefore, the collaboration that I'm now seeing within our venue is superb, because I know that if one supplier is struggling, whether it be because I am now asking for a higher demand of personnel, or they've absolutely lost people through the pandemic, people are making different choices, that we are really working together in a way that is quite exceptional. And then again, moreover, in how we're talking within a league, for example, what are you doing? Would that work at my stadium? Would that not work at my stadium? The environment is different. The size of the stadium is different. So we're all working really closely together to look at best practice and supporting our colleagues in getting over the line.
When I'm thinking back when you were remobilized at that point, what were some of the challenges that you hit you right in the face? I mean, here we are. They want you to get going. It may not be a full capacity, but I'm sure you face some challenges. What were those challenges?
Well, first of all, again, with those challenges came government restrictions on who could actually attend the venue. So in terms of ticketed supporters, so we had to do quite a bit of work with our ticket office and some digital partners and technology partners within the club to look at what technology was actually there to support us in finding out who people. The government actually said, if you want to have people there, they have to tell you that they are medically well to come. So we had to put a medical questionnaire. We then wrote some additional codes of conduct, how we wanted people to behave within the COVID environment. So we wanted people to wear their masks. And a code of conduct, again, was a condition of entry. Now, again, we're very fortunate at Tottenham Hotspur where all of our ticket is digital. Yes. And so working with the digital team, we were able to put those the medical questionnaire and the code of conduct on electronically. Don't ask me how that happened. It was a magic fairy that came and did all of that, which I was very grateful for. But we gathered evidence in advance of people coming. And so long as they completed that work, then it enacted their ticket, which meant they could come into the ground. Yeah. Other challenges were, of course, the workforce. Yeah, that's right. Really fully understanding who we had left in the business. And also what was the mindset of those people, because we knew a really strong team in 23rd of March 2020. We knew who we had. People knew each other and kind of knew what to expect. And here we are, zip forward 16 months. People have been affected by COVID deaths. People have fallen into financial hardship. People have gone into other works. People have been repurposed within their own businesses to work in a longer contract, for example, didn't want to come back in. So the workforce was really our number one risk past the COVID.
How did you fill the gap then when we lost people, but how did you handle the loss of the experienced personnel? I mean, here you are, events time, and you're hurting.
Yeah. again, that was the first point of contact where I was able to collaborate with our agency. So our local, we have 7 companies that work with us, always have worked with us to supply staff. And that's when we got round the table and said, where can we, where are we up to? So we did a survey of the staff. We looked at first line of report was really around the supervision. Did we have good managers? Did we have good leaders? Because I've worked all sorts of jobs in the events industry, and you give me 10 people who want to be stewards or safety officer or security officers, they'll know their job by the time they work with me. They will love it. I'll know everybody's name, and I needed to know did we have the leadership in there. Fortunately, we did, and we were then able to look at all the supervision that we had. A lot of those were returning, which was really great. And then we worked on how we were going to develop people in those stewarding roles, the safety roles, the security roles.
Let me say to you, not only did you not have staff, but if I'm not mistaken, we had to add additional responsibilities. So with the COVID situation, you had to add a lot more requirements, huh?
Yeah. So we had checking, we had, talking to stewards about coming into the work and keeping themselves safe, because obviously we have a duty of care to our staff. What happens if somebody's behavior is inappropriate or very challenging and they need to be asked to leave the stadium? Do we get close and personal with somebody, or will we wear masks? Will we wear shields? So we had a lot of risk assessments to do just to keep our personnel safe, and then make sure that they could move forward and do the job that was required. But yeah, so it was a challenge in terms of new skills, understanding what COVID meant for them, understanding what it meant for our customers and how they were going to respond when they arrived to the stadium.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the casual worker for a minute. I think research tells us that many of the casual workers do not seek employment for the money. We know that, right? If this is a true statement, then what are the other motivational factors, and how do we as event owners tap into these motivators to improve recruitment and retention?
Yeah. So I've done a piece of work on looking at really just not necessarily just about safety and security personnel, but in general, why do people go to work? Why do people stay at work? And whether it's a casual worker, whether it's a permanent worker, the money is, of course, it is very important. But when people apply for jobs, actually what we're seeing with the surveys we've undertaken is that people like the social engagement. They like to come to work. They like to be with other people. And actually, there's a report in the UK that shows money, the financial reward is the 5th motivator. So they want friendship, they want good leadership, they want to be part of a team, etc. And those other emotional values, as opposed to financial value, is much higher up. So therefore, what we needed to look at is fully understanding our new workforce. Notwithstanding, we have retained some really good people, but there are some significant gaps. So we really need to start understanding what the motivators are. So if you're getting people in and they're leaving your company very quickly, then I think I've said somewhere that Richard Branson once said, people don't leave poor jobs, they leave poor management, not being looked after properly. And I think there's a new way whereby we really need to get to know our staff to make sure that we fully understand their motivators, and to make sure that we can deliver on some of those. We can't overpromise and we can't deliver stuff that's not achievable. But if you're currently we're in a recruitment drive at Tottenham Hotspur, and we're looking at about getting another 200 staff coming directly employed by us. Now, to better understand what that would look like, we've put in a mentoring program. So people come on an induction, they meet the mentors go and meet them once they come for their first couple of events. Make sure that they have remember the all key emergency processes, etc., and that they feel comfortable, that they are being supervised properly, that the supervisor hasn't dumped them in the back of an exit somewhere, and they've not had a break or some engagement with their supervisor throughout the day, or a rotation, because we work very much on rotations to make sure that people have a good crack at the whip. But all of this is about communication and relationships. And so again, this my lead for this particular term is to do quite a bit of work with our supervision staff, making sure that they fully understand their role as leaders, managers, supervisors, three very different tasks within that job role. So as a leader, we're actually looking for people to inspire and keep them on board and really start to enjoy, be the role model. In management, we want them to be able to deploy their teams with the necessary resources and equipment and understand who should have that equipment, but then understand that they have people who are, understanding the skill set of the individuals who are allocated to them. So some people will be super on a radio and others will not. So get to know your team and bring the best out of them because of the skills that you fully understand about them. And then thirdly, what we also see quite often is that supervisors tend to go, oh, it's easy if I just go and do it myself, rather than mentoring, nurturing, coaching. And, these are one of the 5 indicators where people are going, I feel valued in my job. So irrespective of where you are, if your manager keeps saying, oh, just forget it, I'll do it myself, then it completely devalues somebody. So we've got a lot of work to do with some of the supervision, leadership and management here to make sure that we're really fully understand what motivates people to stay and come to work with us.
There's a big change. If we could say something about the pandemic, it's workforce development. So us as trainers, we're going to have to look at things much differently very soon.
I think so. And, and one of the things that we wouldn't want to say, well, we fully understand the cost of recruitment as well. So if somebody leaves us, we know it costs about £1,000, $2,000 thereabouts to replace someone. And that's notwithstanding, that's just physically getting a person back. Notwithstanding the fact that you've lost experience, you've spent time already developing those people and that's gone out the door. So, the more we can train people to be good leaders and good managers within this, I think we'll start to see, our retention rates will go up and that people actually feel valued and part of the team. Because quite often, again, as a casual worker, where do they have the assimilation to the organisation that they work for? They're so far down the pecking order. We do a lot of work. We have got newsletters. We have a welcome zone for our staff whereby they see photographs of great stuff. We have recognition and reward programs going on. So we're doing our, employing a lot of things to recognise people and say, and also give them a voice. We're about to go to a staff survey. What do we not know? I mean, I only see my perspective, my prism is from the control room saying, oh, what's that steward doing over there? Oh, what's that steward? Why is there a steward over here? So I need to understand it from their perspective. So we're about to run a staff survey, one to those supervisors to say, hey, what are we not getting right? Why is it still so difficult? What's the challenge for you guys? And then out to those staff members as well to say, how is it for you? You need to tell us, and let's say you said and we did, or we give you the understanding as to why we can't do something. So the pandemic has really forced us down a new route to say, we need to look at these casual workers differently. And if we get it right the first time, our retention rates will improve. They will say good things about us. They will bring a pal to work day. And hopefully it really fosters a culture of good reporting and happiness with people coming. And taking that full circle back round, happy workers give our customers a much better experience, much better fan-centric experience.
It sounds to me that you're really building a culture within the venue that's special, so people want to work, is what I think I'm hearing today.
That's what we're aiming at, and but it just takes time to do that, because also not only, so if we take COVID into the role where people have gone off and had other work streams coming in, they've decided not to come back into safety management for events. We also would normally have had an 18-month cycle of good training already going in, and then we've had a hard stop. Like many industries, you cannot train a train driver because he can't be in the carriage with somebody else. So 18 months worth of train drivers haven't been trained, and there's a gap. Lorry drivers, and the same for ourselves within the security industry. There is a gap of 18 months, a lag of 18 months of training and new people coming through in the momentum of doing that. So yes, the culture, but this isn't a wonderful time to look at reevaluating the culture and to say, well, what can we do differently? That isn't working any longer. Let's use this stopgap. We've been off the bus, so we can come back and start to really look at things differently.
Yes. Well, that reminds me, we since March of 2020, we got off the merry-go-round, and all we really did is in our industry was work on COVID policies, procedures, et cetera, et cetera. What worries me a little bit, looking at the total environment, is have we taken the eye off the ball in terms of counterterrorism and other safety and security factors?
Well, I mean, I'm always very mindful. Obviously, we are just in receipt only a few months ago of the Manchester Arena bombing report, and there'll be certainly some more reviews going on from that. And my caution to everyone is that yes, COVID is at the forefront of our mind because the business needs to drive itself to get back to work and to create the income, etc., and get our industry back on its feet again. But just be wary of that that new well, it hasn't gone away, it's not new at all. I mean, but the counter-terrorism aspect is still sitting there. We don't know who's doing any hostile reconnaissance on our buildings because we're so busy trying to see people. Have you got your COVID test? Do you have your COVID test? Have you got your COVID passport?
Yeah.
Yes. Come to work? Yes, that's great. So we really do have to be mindful of all the other things that are going on. It's almost like juggling plates. So we've got the COVID thing sorted out now. So time to revisit our counter-terrorism plans, time to revisit your health and safety risk assessments, time to reevaluate your medical plans, and just to make sure that we're chugging along and everything is sitting as an equal attention for the stuff that we need to do. As a safety manager, I can't go into my control room on an event day and find that, oh gosh, silly old me, forgot about the health and safety stuff, and we'll just let the rubbish pile up. It doesn't work that way. We are permanently working on all of these. But, I think all my briefings, I will always have a new slide on counter-terrorism to remind my staff that just be mindful, keep an eye. If it doesn't look right, doesn't feel right, it probably isn't right. Just report to us. We always talk about it in the present because who knows what might come around the door. So I think it's really important that people just get that broader perspective again of all of our particular challenges around safety and security.
I'm worried about the term skill fade. Skill fade. Are you worried about that?
Well, let me tell you how quickly it fades. I mean, within 14 months. So we had obviously went from having full stadia, etc., in March 2020. We went behind closed doors in June 2020. And then in August 21, they said, okay, off you go. And I'm like, crumbs. We all got back to the stadium. I was like, how do I get there? I couldn't even remember how to walk myself around the blinking place. So it was so easy to, and again, another reminder of how quickly those skills do fade. Yes. So even at the highest level, irrespective of where you're sitting within the safety or security chain, if you're not using that skill or being mindful of it, it's very challenging. Yeah. And therefore, that's why we looked at the mentoring program for our new workers. Before I went to Tottenham, I worked at Crew Alexandra, and I did some work there based on going into work in a new role. And if you said, Eileen, come and work for us here at IIFX, I would need 3 months. So I'd need 12 weeks, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, to actually learn every aspect of the job that I had. That's a long time. Yeah. And when I look at some of the lower league clubs, our safety and security personnel are actually being employed for about 10 days over a course of 25 games over an 8-month period, and they're coming in at 4 and 5 hour blocks every 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And actually, so how do you take them, you give them a course, and you think, well, they're trained now, they've got the certificate, they've been on the course, but now the learning begins. It's almost like learning to drive. You actually only learn to drive once you get behind the car wheel on your own. So stewarding is exactly the same. And I think the other thing is, of course, we're talking about safety and security critical issues now. The things that are going to keep everybody safe. And so there has to be ongoing training. It can't just be a one-off, that's it, we're done. It has to be something that's continually monitored and delivered. And again, that's why I say we put the mentoring program in for new people so that they're reminded. We talked about this, we've shown you this. We're developing some video stuff now for people to access. We encourage our supervisors currently to do some training every match as well. So let's look at the qualification that we have in the UK, and we'll talk about one aspect of it just to remind ourselves of what things are, because it's I don't even think new people get to the point where it's skills fade. It's memory of, I think again, the figure for anybody who's been on a day course for a period of 6 hours, they take about 30% away with them. And again, the style of teaching and learning that comes for many of these adult learners, we're saying you need to come to the stadium. And if you want to work at the stadium, guess what? You have to go back to college. You have to learn a new set of skills. You have to do a qualification. And I can see the dread within some of them that, they haven't been a learner in a formal setting for goodness knows how long. They now have to put pen to paper. That scares the bejesus out of people, So if we're typing things, you can watch the red line that goes under your spelling mistakes. And now we're saying, no, pen and paper, you need to annotate to me how you're going to do something. And we have a lot of, time to spend with these people, because it is so important that they feel comfortable to learn, that they're not threatened by the learning circumstance situation. But I can't not have them trained, because we are safety critical. We're looking at the Manchester Arena inquiry. Some of the training that was delivered on counter-terrorism awareness was a very short period of time online. Whereas I see my stadium as my classroom. All our training is face-to-face. People come in and we go, right, what classroom will be in today? We're going to have a look at the away end. We're going to work on the turnstiles. We're going to use the mag arches. We're going to use the handheld metal detectors. We're going to go out there. We're going to role model some things. We're going to simulate some things. You're going to go in the control room. You're going to see how all of this works. Now, what a wonderful classroom. A rich environment of the actuals of things that are going on. So it's absolutely super to be able to do that. And I think that, and then we link the mentoring program to the training and development, and then again, we're kind of following it all through. But again, without good supervision and leadership, that doesn't get remembered. And so you're back to your skills fade or your lack of memory. And of course, we teach them, and people are very honed in on some of the aspects whereby, oh, that sounds very sexy to be doing something, but they will never do that. How many, 62,000 people, and we might have 15 ejections.
Yes.
So that is only like 20 people who've ever done an ejection in our stadium. The other 1,000 people who we have employed on the day never use that skill. They're not employed to do searching. They're not employed to do certain aspects. So again, the skill, the member, the ongoing teaching and learning is really important, because again, those are the people coming right back to our fans. If people are feeling out of the depth in their role, never will be able to say, thank you, sir, I'm really sorry I can't answer that question, but I do know somebody who can, or let me fix something for you. So on the day, we want the lowest point of decision making being from these stewards who we only see every 2 weeks, or in December we'll have them for 6 games in 4 weeks. But a great thing to do. But you can see where I'm going. So we have part-time staff being taught formal training, expected to undertake and identify things like somebody who's having a heart attack, identify when somebody's in distress for safeguarding, somebody's become a bit too drunk and now they're vulnerable, identify a child who's lost or become separated, and more we're saying, mature adults who are becoming lost from their children or their companions because of Alzheimer's or other memory loss things. So we've got those going on. Now we're saying to them, oh, and by the way, if you see a nasty person that doesn't look right, they might be a terrorist, you can also tell us about that. And if anybody's going to slip and trip over it, you can tell us about that. And so the whole demand of the job is quite exceptional for people in the most safety critical. Let's face it, we'll take somebody and say, please, can you work on this door? It mustn't be opened, it mustn't be compromised, because if somebody came in, something might happen.
Yeah.
And this person might only be on the lowest pay. He might only have been with us for 2 weeks, but because he doesn't understand and can't perform properly and other things just yet, we'll say, well, let's put you on that door. The most safety critical, security critical function, with somebody being allocated that role without the understanding, the knowledge, the joy to be at work. Thank you. You've stuck me in a stairwell somewhere. So it is really important that we understand how these people will come and be nurtured and enjoy to come and work for us.
Well, let's talk about, we're going through this evolution of change. Do you think we're going to be attractive to bring in new good personnel in the future because of the post-pandemic era, that there's a new feeling of excitement again, people coming back in full capacity? You think we're going to be attractive to good people as an industry?
Yes, I do, if we get it right. If people on the first hit, I mean, bearing in mind how many times we're going to see them, we're going to ask them to send us a CV, we're going to acknowledge that. Hit number 1, they're going to be invited in for an assessment. Hit number 2, welcoming, we love it. Oh, goodness me, that was a good feeling. They're going to come for an induction. They're going to meet my team. My mentoring team is going to say, well, don't worry, you come to me if you've got an issue and I'm going to try and help sort these things out. We then have them deployed and they're allocated. So I think from the very first hit of doing an advert and receiving those CVs, we've got to create it as there are customers. Those are customers applying for work with us, and they should be treated. I mean, one of our players is the captain of England, Harry Kane, and I always say to my team, my staff, my direct reports, say, how would you treat Harry Kane if you walked into our booking in room? My goodness, wouldn't that be a pleasure if Harry Kane came? Oh yes, wouldn't it be great? We would do this, we'd do that. Okay, I said, so we have 1,000 stewards and every one of those is Harry Kane. That's how I want you to behave with your colleagues. That's customer service with your colleagues. And unless they get that experience, that completely immersed in, we're looking at our cultural diversity, what everybody brings, the skill set they bring with us. And again, bearing in mind, many stewards come to us for second employment. They have a full-time job. I can go to a couple of my team and go, that guy works in the bank. That person works in a care home. That person works in retail. That person works in legal department. But they just love to come to work because it's something different. So we have to celebrate the differences in that particular role.
Yes.
And I think, yes, with good interaction in the first instance, people will say, it's back to that. They don't leave bad jobs.
No.
Working in events is a wonderful. I fell into it myself very accidentally over 20 years ago. I went, wow, I never looked back. I know. I just found what I loved, and I think I've excelled myself going forward. So yes.
Let's talk about wages. I know money is important, as we said earlier. How are you going to the administration and looking at new wages or increased wages for your staff?
It's always a challenge because irrespective of anything, we are a cost to the company.
Yes.
So you're trying, and it's very difficult to evidence. One, of course, we have to be in situ, otherwise they can't open. So that is one business case I have. But secondly, every person in my position has been told, can you cut the budget? Can you cut the budget? You're a cost center, you're costing us money. And it's very, very challenging to be able to evidence where good stewarding is adding value to the bottom line. Because a steward's kind to you, does that mean they go and buy another pie or a hot dog or something? Well, I can't evidence that. All I can say is that on a Monday, the better stewarding we get, the less complaints we have, because stewards are able to deal with things more locally, or they, that they're nipping these things in the bud, so they're actually addressing some of these things. But low wages I just don't know where we go with it. What's a fair day's pay for the work they do? The abuse they take sometimes in certain circumstances, because behaviours have definitely decreased since we've come back from the pandemic, in spite of the euphoria of getting back to having wonderful events.
Yes.
Behaviour is very challenging. So we actually pay one of the higher rates, London living wage. So we are looking and being competitive and comparative to other places, but outside of London, and I'm sure certainly in other parts of the world, there's very little diligence given to the skill set that I've just described, and the hours and the type of engagement they have with other people, to be able to give them the best wages they can. It is certainly a challenge. But there's other things. So I'm all about a fair day's pay for a fair day's work, and I think there's more we can do around the wages thing. But to engage with people. If money is not their motivator, that we know, what else? Feeling part of the team. Where are you setting up some podcasts? Where are you setting up some team evenings? Where are you? We feed all our staff so they come to work with a full tummy. We start to look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and people feeling very satisfied, comfortable, safe, secure, and then they get to the point where they're performing the best they can because they've got some good leadership and bringing the best out in them. And so there's I've done a bit of work on this, so I'm very comfortable with what I want to achieve. And but the wage thing, those are just business decisions that people should be looking at, championing the role, the skill set that people are bringing to us, championing the challenge of the behaviours they're having to deal with, and that really is really, I think, just keep it on the table. Even if they say go away, just keep it on the table.
Just keep it on the table. Yeah, I agree. Let me switch a little bit. Since the pandemic, have you seen a change in behavior of ticketed supporters changing?
I think most of my colleagues in the Premier League would say that we're seeing less tolerance from the ticketed supporters coming in. Who knows why? It might be that they feel that they've been cooped up for 18 months and it's their right to be back. They've missed it so much that they get a bit over exuberant. Perhaps their tolerance levels aren't just what they used to be, or I'd just like to spend some time with a good researcher to look at some of the triggers that are motivating people. I mean, certainly in football in the UK, one of the biggest motivators, the fact is our team is not playing as well as it could have been. We just had a new manager come in this week, and I'm sure that will, fans are very delighted. But we had a game last night, and we had some poor behaviours from away supporters, and we'll do some investigation into that. But the knock-on effect of that is that they spoil it for other people. They spoil the enjoyment for people who are not of that mindset, and it gives us a really bad, challenging day at the office, as it were, to manage this type of behaviour. When we first did the behind closed doors, and then we came to limited return of spectators, we were worried about people being anxious about other customers, being too close, because limited numbers, it meant that we could actually say, you can sit 2 meters apart from everybody else, and there's lots of space. All of those then went when we came back this season in August 21, and and I don't see many behaviours that are COVID related, if that makes sense. So I'm starting to see more behaviours that are just less tolerant of our football club in general around the performance, and secondly, just less tolerant of one another. So I don't. We'll try to get to the bottom of that, but I also have spoken with some colleagues in the US, and they've also said that a number of the behaviours that are seeing at major sports is certainly deteriorating into disorder in some instances, which is a worry.
Yeah, no question. As we look down the road, let's talk here as we come to the end of the podcast about the future. What do you see in your mind, what the future might look like in our industry?
I think we're going to be absolutely fine. I think that from our fans getting back, of course, notwithstanding the fact that COVID hasn't gone away, and we still got a few humps in the road, I think, in the near future to manoeuvre over. We'll watch the how COVID and any further variant comes. So that's one thing. As an events industry, I think we'll be back on track in no time at all. But people just need to be mindful. What do we need to do different to make an exceptional event happen, to look at the fan experience that's driven by, say, people, and our stewards are in the forefront of all of that, because they're the people that they'll go and say, hey, where do I get something? Hey, what you want to do about something? Hey, what, this isn't right. Hey, my friend's not very well. Hey, and therefore the people interaction has to be better. They need to be better trained. They need to be having the answers they need, or know where to get the answers. So I think that the fact we haven't been able to have people trained, and we haven't been able to do things, but that's all overcomable, because with good leadership and good management, people are keen to get back to work. Absolutely. The people that we have working with us at the moment are exceptional.
Where does technology fit into the future, though? I mean, you were talking about this experience. Can technology help us?
Yeah, I think so. And I think, I'm not the most tech savvy person, but I'm learning. And there's a whole generation of young people and new generation of people coming to events. What I'm seeing at Tottenham Hotspur is it's a digital process now. So everything, your ticket is digital, where you can use that ticket to make it a seamless experience and no touching, and the flow is great. We have a cashless stadium. For an accessible guest, you can order from your seat and have some food and beverage brought to your facility. Because in football, we only have 15 minutes at half time when things get very busy. And then in terms of our communications, super opportunity to speak with people and younger generation. Of course, this is their world. I've got some grandchildren, and I really worried when it was come to homeschooling and they were online. I'm like, my goodness, how are they going to learn anything if they don't see a teacher? This is terrible, because I'm very much a face-to-face people person. And my daughters were saying, Mum, this is their world. They play games. They learn so much from each other. They're chatting to each other on all sorts of social media platforms, and this is the world of this future generation. Yes. And I heard twice this week a great saying is that the people coming to our industry in the future, their jobs haven't even been created yet. And technology hasn't even been created yet for the next, tomorrow probably my computer's out of date today already, So I think there's a wonderful opportunity now to look at all the new stuff that's coming through. I'm just doing some work with the Premier League at the moment on digital ticketing and COVID passports, etc., and how that might be integrated. And my goodness, it just blows my mind. So we really need to be keeping our minds open. But of course, all of that again comes at a cost. And what do our customers want from us? And what is their experience? A huge game changer in England or in the UK was the Olympic Games in 2012. Such an exceptional customer focus, customer service delivery of two fantastic events, the Olympic Games and the Paralympic Games, in which again I was very fortunate to be part of. And the customer service was amazing. Everybody was friendly on the tube and everybody was going chat. And then the minute those games finished, everybody was like, oh, mustn't talk to anybody. Yeah. But then the feedback was the day after the Paralympics finished, a couple of stadia had pop concerts. And they were going, you mean to say we've just delivered all of that at the Olympic Games and I've come here to your venue and I can't even find one sign that tells me how to get back to the train station? What the heck? It was a game changer, a tremendous game changer. And then at that point, we were all looking at, actually, this is amazing. How can you move that forward? And again, it's down to our people. Our people, we have to look after them. We have to understand them. We have to look at their motivations, their triggers, what we can do to put our arm around them occasionally. And then, get them to the meeting their potential so that they can deliver the fan experience that people so much crave. And that gets you the notoriety within the industry for your event being an exceptional. We go there and we have a great time. We'll never get it right all of the time. We'll see behaviors that creep up on us, which I saw something that came up on us unexpectedly in one of our recent events. We'd never seen that behavior previously. Everybody's going, my goodness, where did that come from? Hey, I've now got a 2-page risk assessment. If it happens again, we know what we're doing. Yes. So there's always going to be new behaviors coming. There's always going to be new things. And sometimes we don't get it right. We make a decision. We think, we as an event owner or as an event safety manager, you've got the ability to pull it from your memory to say, I've been here before. I've seen this before. We can do this. We can do that. We can do something else. But we don't always get it right. So all we can say is that we're always in learning. We're always looking to improve. I always start my briefings with areas of improvement. Fantastic what you did last week, but here's things that we can do better. Here's the feedback. And give them a great praise sandwich. So we deal with the business in the middle, but well done and go out and deliver, because, I spend the week planning. I've met all of those internal stakeholders, my external stakeholders, and come event day, I have to say, here you go, supervisors. This is our event. It's over to you. because I'm back up to the control room now. I'm not on the ground. I'm not dealing with the people. And I have to entrust my plan to those people and then support them when things need a little bit of adjustment or some dynamic risk assessments. So my role, finishes once we finish the event, of course, but on the day I have to hand over my event to those supervisors, those managers, those leaders to deliver for me. And my goodness, some days they get it great, and other days we're still improving. But that's the nature of the beast.
Well, listen, Eileen, our profession needs you. We need your vision and your leadership. And all of us at IIFX, thank you so much for a great podcast, and appreciate all your efforts. And thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for having me. And it's a great platform to be able to share the vision, and let's go on the journey together. So come on, everybody, let's go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.